Hey guys, it's Camus and welcome to Chess Beauty 71. At the end of Chess Beauty 70, we left you with this position, and the stipulation is white to play and win. So if you're seeing this for the first time, have a go at trying to solve it. Alright, I'm assuming that you've had a chance to look at the position. In this initial position, you can see that there is approximate material equality. Both sides have 10 points if you use the conventional way of measuring material. In addition, black has a pawn that is ready to queen, whereas white is a little bit further from the queening square. He also has 3 pieces versus white single rook, but these white pawns do look a little bit ominous. So no points for the first move, b6 check. Now, black can make a mistake right away here by playing king to b8. One of the main reasons is that black will not be able to interpose the bishop on b8 if white gets a queen on g8. So anyway, the correct move for black, to hold out the longest anyway, is king to a8. And now you might want to consider, if you haven't tried to solve it before, what the best move for white is here. It's rather surprising. Okay, well, it's not g7. G7 is only good for a draw. G7, black queens, white queens. Now the bishop shields the king. Rook takes e5. Can't be recaptured, of course, because of the pin on the rook. But this allows the queen to get in some checks, the black queen. Queen to a1, king to b5, queen to b2, king to c6, queen to c3, king to d7, queen takes e5, b7 check, king to a7, queen takes g2, and queen to d6 leads to a perpetual. Okay, this is the author's analysis, and all of this analysis has been checked with Rybka, and much to my surprise, there are no errors whatsoever in any of this study. Rybka went for all the main lines and all the main variations exactly the way the study composer presented them. So, all right, so after king to a8, g7 doesn't work. Surprisingly, the best move and only winning move is rook to e1. And what's the point of this move? Okay, the point of this move is, well, first of all, he's preventing the black pawn from queening. Secondly, the point of the move is to provide a shield, because after knight takes e1, when that pawn queens, then it's going to be difficult for the queen to get access to the white king along the bottom row there. So this is the point of the rook sacrifice. So let's continue on a little bit. Of course, white's only chance here now is to queen this pawn, but this allows black to queen his pawn. Now, another line that black could play that doesn't work out is knight to c4. So we'll look at that first. King to b5, black queens, white queens with check, bishop to b8, a7, exploiting the pin, knight to a3 check, king to c6, queen to h2, pawn takes bishop and queens, the queen takes the queen, b7 check, king to a7, queen to g1 check, king to a6, and queen to b6 is checkmate. So knight to c4 doesn't work. Let's go back just a little bit in that variation. After a7 in this variation, queen to h2 is another possibility, trying to protect the bishop right away, but that doesn't work out either. After a takes b8, queening, queen takes b8, queen takes b8, king takes b8, king takes c4, and now the 3 pawns are going to win, and neither the king nor the knight are able to stop all 3 of them. So that's a win for white. Okay, so going back, after g7, instead of knight to c4, which was the variation we just looked at, black queens. Seems suitably strong. And now, white queens as well. Bishop to b8 is forced, and the natural move we saw in the other variation, a7, threatening checkmate. and exploiting the pin on the bishop. So you can see here from the rook having sacrificed itself, there is no immediate checks for the black queen, which is a good thing because the white king is quite exposed, and if the black queen had more access to the king, a perpetual check would easily result. So thanks to the rook sacrifice, that's not a resource for black in the present position. But he does have a check. He can play knight to c6 check. He could play queen takes pawn on d5, but that doesn't seem too sensible after queen takes d5. Obviously, after a7, knight to c6 is the only sensible move. So now, white can go wrong here. He could play king to b5, probably going to lead to a black win after something like knight to d3, pawn takes bishop queening, knight takes queen, queen to e6, queen to b1 check, king to c4, queen to c2, king to d4, knight to b4, and Rybka assesses this as winning for black, or just about winning for black. White may have some drawing chances here, but it looks pretty bleak. Obviously, it's not a strong line. So white does not want to go for that. So after knight to c6 check, the correct move is to accept the knight sacrifice. Now, the point of the knight sacrifice is to allow the queen to check, which black will now do. So queen to h5 check. And now black thinks he's okay because, as I said, the white king is quite exposed here, and a perpetual could easily result. This is the key position in the study. So if you're just along for the ride and haven't tried to solve the problem before, now is a good chance for you to try and work out white's next move, because it is a corker. We've just played queen to h5 check. Let's take a look at some not winning tries for white. He plays king to e6, for instance. After queen e2, black will have a perpetual check. Similarly, if he plays king to b4, queen to h4 leads to a perpetual check. King to a4, same thing, queen to d1, king to b4, queen to d2, and a perpetual check will result. So what to do? After queen to h5 check, king moves don't seem too sensible. Well, okay, this move requires a drum roll, which I don't have, so you'll have to imagine a drum roll here, but the correct move is the rather staggering queen to g5. This move looks absolutely insane. Well, first of all, the queen's giving away for nothing, and with check. Not only that, but white is lifting the mating threat, which is the pin of the bishop on b8, letting his queen be captured with check on an unguarded square, and remains with only a few pawns against queen, bishop, and knight. And yet, it's the winning move. Okay, so why is it the winning move? Well, we'll have to see the rest of the study to see why. Now, black does no real alternative here to taking the queen. If he plays, for instance, queen to e8, after b7 check, king takes a7, queen to c5 is checkmate. So after queen to g5, black has little recourse other than to take the queen. And now white plays king to a6, which threatens b7, checkmate. And so desperate measures called for here. Bishop takes a7. Well, he could try queen to b5 check, sacrificing the queen and hoping to deflect the mating threat, but it doesn't really work out because after queen to b5, king takes b5, something like knight to c2, c7 is just simply winning. Okay, so after king to a6, he has to play bishop takes a7. And now c7 is the winning move. This is an incredible position. Black with a queen, a bishop, a knight against white's two connected pass pawns is helpless against the dual threats of b7 checkmate and c8 queening with check. Now it's interesting to note that if the queen were in any other square of the board where it's not already giving check, black would be winning easily. Only on the square g5 does the queen have no checks that do not simply lose. Rather than c7, we'll go back here and see the danger for white. before we play this move. After bishop takes a7, b takes a7, queen to c5, and black will win. Or instead, after bishop takes a7, b7 check, king to b8, c7 check, king takes c7, b8 queening check, king to c6. Well, he could play instead bishop takes b8. That's a stalemate. Or he could play king takes b8, which is also stalemate. So instead of that, king to c6, queen to b7, king to d6, takes a7, and that's just a draw. Back to the position after c7. Black could play queen to d5 in this position, but after c8 queening with check, bishop to b8, b7 check, queen takes b7, queen takes b7 is checkmate. Similarly, after c7, he could play queen to g6, but we queen with check, bishop to b8, and then queen to b7 is checkmate. So the only move that black has in the position after c7 is queen to a5 check. And now, obviously, we will take the queen. And as I said, the surprises are not over in this position. One of the interesting things about this position is that if black had no bishop or no knight, the position would be a draw. Let's take a look at that. So here's the position without the bishop, and it's black to move, of course, so king to b7, stopping the queen, king to b5, knight to d3, king to a5, knight to e5, king to b5. The king has to protect the pawn, but after knight to d7, he's losing it. King to a5, knight to b6 is a draw. Okay, so let's look at the other version. This is without the knight. This is also a draw because black to move plays bishop takes b6, and after king takes b6, it's stalemate. So pretty amazing. This is after king takes a5. Now in this position, black could play bishop takes b6, but after king to takes b6, he's going to mate next move after something like knight to d3, c8 check. So after king takes a5, all he has is king to b7, stopping the queen, but now takes a7, and white wins because black cannot stop both of the pawns. Whatever pawn he takes, the other pawn queens, and a simple win for white. This is a rather incredible study, one of the most amazing I think I've seen. And this is a study by Leopold Adamovich Matranov. He was a Russian chess composer. He was born in Leningrad and was a chemical engineer by profession. Beginning in the 50s, he published 300 endgame studies, 40 of which were awarded first prizes in competitions. He had a very active career in chess composition competitions. He and Vladimir Korolikov were jointly awarded 3 gold medals. This study was submitted in 1967, and one of the judges was former world champion Mikhail Tal. And the report from the judges said that Mitrofanov's entry doesn't look like any other and is beyond the rest of the studies. Coincidentally, our composer from yesterday, Alexander Herbstman, said, immediately after the first preview, Mitrofanov's masterpiece created a tremendous impression by the intensity and novelty of the idea. The ranking of the other studies was designated by us beginning with the 2nd place. So, anyway, I hope you enjoyed that. As I said yesterday, anyone who managed to solve that has my undying admiration. All right, let's look ahead to Chess Beauty 72. We'll go with a much lighter problem here, and this is a chess problem, and it's mate in 3. So have a go at it, and we'll see you in Chess Beauty 72. Thank you for watching.